You know, I try not to talk about religion, but since my last couple of videos or some videos in the past, I brought up the Adam and Eve story and how I felt about it. But I was curious how everybody else felt about that. How do y'all feel about the Adam and Eve story? Do you think it's bullshit? Do you think it's how the world started? The big question, I had a couple big questions about it. Of course, the rib thing is something that bothers me. But also, what about the fact that if it was just Adam and Eve and they had kids, Cain and Abel, and then where did the other chicks come from that they made it with to make the rest of the world? Because if it was just Adam and Eve, everybody would be family and we'd all be related, which would all be kind of weird, right? So that's a legitimate question that I have about it, but I just wonder what y'all thought about the Adam and Eve story. I guess the other story of creation that we have is the Big Bang Theory. And this is really some crazy shit. If you really dive into it, the Big Bang Theory is sort of ridiculous too. What I think is that people are afraid to say they don't know. And the powers that be people made up a lot of these stories that we go by and pass down to our children and family as if they were the real story. But they don't make sense. And people are afraid to say, I don't know about that. Or even, I'm not going to teach my kids that. I'm not teaching my kids about no Adam and Eve because it doesn't make sense. I would rather they have it open. Maybe they can tell me how they think creation started because their mind is open and we're not planting something inside their head. Because I feel like it was planted inside my head and it's been planted and passed down. Adam and Eve or the Big Bang, either one of them, both of them seem like bullshit to me. But definitely the Adam and Eve and definitely the Big Bang. The Big Bang, I can't say it correctly right now, but it's like an organism found another organism. They just happen to be male and female, and they made it and caused this whole mating process that ended up, I mean, it's ridiculous. It couldn't make any sense if you just looked at it logically. None of this stuff makes sense that's passed down. This theory of evolution, out of Africa theory, all of these things are piled on top of one another. And we got to let go of that, y'all. We can't be afraid to let go of that. I think that there's a fear to let go of that because, well, what else do I hold on to if I don't have, even my mom has been my mom's 90 and she's been growing up in church. So she told me, she hears me. You know how much I talked. I done told her all of this stuff I'm telling y'all. But she says she can't, it's too much a part of her and she can't let go, basically, is what she says. Almost to say, what do I have to hold on to if that's gone? Without that, what do I have? She said Jesus' name so much that what do you do without it? You know, like, what do you mean there's no Jesus? So that's what I'm saying. It's important that we don't plant that into the next generation's head because their head can then be open. And maybe they can tell us what the true definition of spirituality and a deity is without being inundated with this story that we've been given since birth. They tell us this story since birth. Born in a manger. All of this, it's planted in my head. And I rebuke it. Try to remove it from my thought process, but it's still a part of my being because it was planted in me. And I do realize that. So what I'm careful to do is not to plant it, to replant it in my children, and my children's children will not have a concept of it at all, and they can form their own concept, which I think our concept is better because if we're made in God's image, I would rather see what we come up with than to take somebody else's story that was probably violently forced upon us and then passed down acquiescently as we just accept it because, of course, you accept what your mother tells you and it's just passed down. So I think that we can break the chains, but all of that to say I'm interested to know what your opinion is. What do you think of Adam and Eve? Am I tripping? Is Adam and Eve a legit story to you? How do you think this whole thing came about, this whole creation story? I'd be really curious to know, but I think it's weak. I think anybody that excuse this siren going by, y'all, it's a little loud. But I think that anybody that pushes that theory or pushes that on you or says that they rule their house because the Bible said this and that, I think that's just a weak and it's a cop out and you're using that story, excuse me, fire truck going by. You're using that story to your advantage and just taking advantage of what's there instead of crafting your own story or realizing that it's all BS and tearing it down and being able to think for yourself. I think people are afraid of that. So if you can use the story to your advantage, then you're going to use it. I.e., any preacher or pastor is just preaching every Sunday on this shit. I know some of them know that it probably don't make sense, but they like, shit, I got this thing rolling. I got the donations coming in. What I'm going to do? You know, you get kind of drunk into that lifestyle. So I don't want y'all to do that out there. I want y'all to think for yourself and don't be afraid to say, I don't believe in none of this, and then form your own ideas. And I'd rather share them with me, and maybe we could find something that we could both resonate with, and I'd rather rock with that than rock with what's out there, because I'm smarter than what's out there, and you are too. All right, so that's just a message. I know it got all over the place, but hey, it's your boy Raystone, Raystonebooks.com. Get at them books, get at me. Peace.